Hello, everybody. This is Victor Jimenez, the Executive Director of the Outshine LGBTQ+ Film Festival. On behalf of the board, the staff, and the volunteers, we welcome you to this virtual Q&A for Cicada. Before we get to it, I'd like to say thank you to our presenting sponsors, Gilead and Miami-Dade County, without whose support we would not be able to come back year after year, as well as our producer circle members. We'd also like to thank our community partners. We believe we grow stronger together. We actually have 3 community partners for this film, and right before the Q&A, we have actually 2 videos from those community partners. The first community partner is Equality Florida. They're the largest political rights organization in the state of Florida. They were founded in 1997, and now we have a word from one of their representatives.
Welcome everyone to Outshine Film Festival's virtual edition presentation of the film Cicada. I'm Ro Iliescu at Equality Florida, and I love when we get to partner with Outshine Film Festival on these wonderful movie presentations. If you haven't heard of us, well, we're just about everywhere in Florida, from Pensacola to Key West, and working on issues that are important to you, such as transgender inclusion, HIV advocacy, safe schools, banning conversion therapy, and I'm sure this is on all of your minds, electing pro-equality candidates here in Florida. If that sounds interesting for you and you'd like to know more, please go to equalityflorida.org. Now, sit back and enjoy the show.
Thank you, Ro. Our next community partner is a part of Unity Coalition. It's Kawaba. It's a subset of Unity Coalition, and now we have a video from them.
I'm strong. I'm black.
I am proud.
I'm gender fluid.
I am an activist.
I matter.
I'm your friend.
I am fierce.
I'm fearless.
I am creative.
And I'm fabulous.
I am queer.
I'm your neighbor.
I'm a non-binary person.
I'm a voter.
I am a leader.
I'm a fashionista.
I am gay.
I will not be erased.
I am gay.
I will not be erased.
I am Unity Coalition.
Visit us at unitycoalition.org.
And our last community partner is near and dear to my heart because I used to be one of them back in the day, the Nadadores. The Nadadores is open to anyone. It's a great swim team, a great way to meet new people and enjoy great company. The Nadadores is part of the Master Swim organization as well as IGLA, and you'll be seeing a video from them at the end of the Q&A. But now it's time to get to why you're here, the virtual Q&A for Cicada. First, I'd like to welcome into the room co-writer, co-director, and one of the lead actors, Matthew Fifer.
How you doing, Victor?
How you doing, Matt? Next, I'd like to bring in also co-writer and lead actor, Sheldon Brown.
Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure, always a pleasure. Next, we're gonna bring in the other co-director, Kieran Mulcare. Excellent. And then last, we have a producer, Jeremy Truong.
Hey.
Welcome, guys. I know our audience definitely enjoyed your film, and now they're probably guessing by the faces on the screen why the film seems so genuine from everyone's different point of views. You guys are a very diverse group of people in terms of experiences. And I think that comes across actually in the dynamic and the relationship. Can you, and all of you can jump in because we got co-writers, co-directors, and everything here. Can you tell us a story about how Cicada came to be and how long that process was?
Yeah, I'd love to. So it started in the winter. I was very depressed a few years ago, I guess a couple years ago. And I don't know, so much of my life, I thought, like, when I finally come out, that'll be it. And there's going to be like a party, and I'm going to meet the guy, and he's going to have a little dog, maybe named Klonopin. And, you know, it's just going to be like easy from here on out. And I just had this nagging feeling that, you know, that what had happened to me was meant for something bigger. And I was very, very depressed one winter, and I started writing the script, and it poured out of me over the course of about a month. And from the very first page, I had this one guy in mind, and I texted him on the last day. It was February. I just looked it up. It was February 7th. And I said, hey, Sheldon, I have this project that I think you'd be good for. What are you doing this spring? And I didn't have any money or anything, and I don't know what I was doing, but I just texted him. So he texted me back, and he's, in Chicago. I'm in New York. And he texted me back, I'm actually in New York right now, and I'm doing a show. So if you want to grab a drink, let's grab a drink. So we met up at this bar, Syndicated, in Bushwick in Brooklyn. And I knew from the moment I saw him that we had a movie. I mean, it was, if he was down, I knew we were going to do this thing. So we grabbed a drink. I don't know what we talked about. I don't know if we talked about the movie at all.
We did talk about the movie.
And, I sent it to him. And then 2 months later, everything changed. And I got a text from him again, and he said, sorry, I didn't get back to you. And, well, Sheldon, you could continue the conversation.
Yeah, so shortly after Matt and I started talking about this film, I was actually shot in a drive-by shooting in Chicago about maybe 2 months after we talked. So, at the time I wasn't really sure, what I could do physically. I didn't know if I was, going to be walking and up and running. And, I had a lot of emotional things going on, as you can expect at the time too. So it just kind of, we kind of came at a crossroads where I was like, I'm not sure if I can do this film. My whole physical, my body had completely changed. I lost 30 pounds, had a ostomy bag. I was on crutches, walker, everything. So wasn't really sure if I could shoot a movie. And then 2 months later, got back into walking again, made a miraculous comeback recovery. Matt reached out and was like, hey, if you want to do this, we should still do this. I was a little nervous about just all of what I went through and how I would look on camera. But Matt embraced that and was like, definitely put the story in and really, take control of the story of your story and how that influences the script and your character. And we'll find new levels and new relationships with that. And that's kind of how this film kind of came about. Is something completely transformed to something different that we were both experiencing in our own personal lives that just created this beautiful story.
And Kieran, I want to add that Kieran and Jeremy came in the middle of this, and they were very, very much involved in this process and pushing and supporting. And Kieran, had talked to Sheldon and was just, adamant that, this is our guy. And he knew, from the beginning. And I mean, Kieran, do you want to speak on this at all?
Well, yeah. I mean, I knew Sheldon was my kind of actor because he had such a grasp on the inner life of the character in our first conversation. And so I was, when he was going through what he was going through, I know as an actor what it means to have a role to look forward to and, to work on. And it depended entirely on his bravery, but because of his bravery, he had something ahead of it that, I thought would be part of the healing process, and ended up in a universal way blessing this film, because we got he was able to take his own experience and write this into a piece that made it made it what it is. I can't imagine what it would be like without both Sheldon's artistry and his lived experience. Yeah.
And then Jeremy, how did you? I mean, obviously you and Kieran got involved in the middle of all this, but how did you get involved and your process as the producer?
Yeah, like sort of what everyone mentioned, it came together really quickly, and there were a lot of just sort of random things that we had to work into. And I think that's a testament to sort of the genuineness of the film, is that we didn't have a lot of room necessarily to sort of pivot. We would just take things as they came and we would incorporate it into the story. And one of the characters is on crutches because Jasmine actually broke her leg like the day before we started shooting, and Sheldon's story is incorporated in there. So it was just a lot of being very flexible and knowing that we have to make everything work is just sort of a thing that we're running with at any given time. So I came on to like maybe a month or two before. It was a very short timeline, and we just kind of did our best to pull it all together.
Yeah.
No,
Matt talked to me. I just want to add that the time frame was really. Matt talked to me in February. I was in the hospital all of April. We shot in June.
Wow.
And did all of June shooting pretty much. So it came together very, very, very quickly.
The finished product is a testament to all of your talent and ability to get it done, because it's an independent film, and sometimes it's done quick, and sometimes you have the time. But it doesn't show that it was so fast. I guess it looked like it was the time was taken to do the whole thing. Out of curiosity, in the creative writing process of it, did you make the conscientious choice not to reveal who molested your character, Matt? Like at one point, like, oh, maybe it was a stepdad, maybe it was the uncle. At one point, I even thought it was your mother. What was the reason why you wanted to keep it ambiguous?
Yeah, so it is alluded to with Sheldon on the left, where he says, "Was your stepdad around for?" excuse me, and I cut him off and go into it. I feel very naked in this film. It's a deeply personal story, and I mean everything from the locations, like it's my apartment we shot in. A lot of my friends were playing, my friends, and there needed to be some level of privacy that I could keep. And so for the privacy of my family, I want to say and make it clear that it wasn't anybody in my family, but that 90% of victims of child sexual abuse are abused by somebody that the family knows. Be it somebody, an uncle or a father or a mother, or just somebody, like a coach. But it's less likely that it's going to be somebody, hiding in a candy store or in a bathroom, like, what they use to push the bathroom bills or push them away. So I don't know if that answers your question.
That's a good. I'm fine with that. Another question I had, and this is maybe I missed something in the movie, but when the two of you went to go visit Sam's dad, in the apartment, the first visit, was Sam like? It might be something I might have missed. Like I said, was Sam putting on blinders to the fact that his dad kind of knew that he was gay, because his dad made the comment, about Ben, that he's a keeper. But yet, it was still like an issue for Sam, to like fully say it. Like, is it something that where Sam just didn't realize his dad was giving him clues and he was have blinders on, or tell me, or did I miss something in the scene?
Yeah, I really like that line because it's definitely ambiguous. You usually say that about somebody like a romantic partner, but you could say that about a best friend. So I meant it as something ambiguous. What do you think, Sheldon?
I mean, this is coming from, I lived with my grandmother for years and brought home my best friend all the time that she had no idea was, not my best friend. But you know, she would often make remarks that, you know, you look and you're like, wait, what do you mean by that? And you know, it's a part of like, it adds to that awkwardness of that, you know, that scene, because it's a thing where it's like, is my dad okay with this? Or does my dad like Ben as a person, you know? And if he does, maybe I could come out and say, hey, by the way, that guy you met, he's my boyfriend. I'm gay. But it's that thing where it's like, you know, it creates an added level of you know, of just anxiety and nervousness of not necessarily knowing where the boundaries are with your parents and your partner, or just the awkwardness of talking about sexuality with your parents and dating in general. But yeah, it's one of those moments where we gotta go like, what did you mean by that? But the fact that it adds that extra layer of awkwardness I love that about this.
No, I definitely, you know, I just was like, well, I think his dad kind of knows once I heard that line, but that was my impression. For Kieran and Matt, like, explain to me how you guys are co-directors. Like, is it like division of labor, or like everything's like a joint decision? Like, how is that process for you guys?
So I had met Kieran at a screening for something that I had, a little web series I did, and anyway, Kieran was just like, you should act, so come into this acting class. And anyway, I don't know what he was thinking, but I did, and it was one of the best decisions I ever made. One scene he did in class, I think it was the first class, he's the best person in the class, by the way. He's unbelievable, such a good actor. If you haven't seen anything he's done, go to his IMDb page and check him out. So he did this scene about having been abused, and it was so real for me, and I couldn't really speak, and I had to leave the class, and I reached out to him after, and I said, you know, I didn't want to flat out ask him if he had, and maybe I did, Kieran, I don't know, I don't remember, but
what happened was that.
What?
Well, sorry. Do you? I can.
Yeah. So anyway. Yeah.
I had done this scene from The Great God Pan by Amy Herzog, and it's a really great play, but it's about the discovery of childhood sexual abuse and healing from that. But I have sexual abuse in my own past, and I was forthcoming about that, you know, and that was when Matt felt emboldened to share his experience with me. And that began a friendship, and also he cast me in a short film he directed called Pop, and I don't know how much later it was, but I remember him sending me this script. I probably took too long to read it, but when I finally read it, it was one of the best screenplays I'd ever read. And for a while, I had been, you know, curious about directing, but I had never actually done it. And so I was really curious about exploring that, and he approached me with the idea of co-directing that, and I just had a really bad experience trying to direct something, and I was really hesitant about it, but he convinced me, and I was really grateful for the opportunity. I was really scared of messing it up. But to answer your question, I think we deferred to each other in our areas of expertise, because Matt is an experienced director. Matt understands camera work. He understands basically every other part of the process aside from acting. And acting was the thing that I understood. And so, yeah, that was we rehearsed a lot when we could, and I was very grateful for that. And yeah, we really worked together by deferring to each other's expertise, and also knowing that it's Matt's story, you know, and it always had to go back to, is this in line with the story you want to tell, Matt?
Right. And I want to also add that, like, it was a hugely collaborative effort with the DP as well, and Jeremy. Like, everybody was like, did we get that? And you know, usually on a set, if the director says we got it, then we got it. But like, if Jeremy said, you know what, like, let's do something, or Sheldon was like, let's do it, So everybody
Right.
was like very much a part of it, but Kieran was really like the Ben whisperer. Like I could not have done any of this without him. And you know, I mean, I don't. You can't see Kieran right now, but he's probably tearing up because and
We can see him. We can see him. He might have blacked out on yours, but we can see him.
anyway, that's I don't know if you answered the question.
That was good. One of my favorite scenes was actually when Sam went to the dinner and met Ben's friends, and then kind of like, you know, Sam's feeling there, and then the aftermath and the conversations you guys had in bed afterwards. Can you kind of like go more into like was that a scene that was always there from the beginning, or Sheldon, was that something that you added when you came on board? And what was the evolution of that scene and then the final creation of it?
Yeah, so we actually shot that scene twice. You know, in the beginning, you know, just because of the fact that we are in a racial relationship and you don't often see the complexities of that on screen. We knew we wanted to have, you know, already there was a conversation of, okay, there's going to be some conflict, you know, like especially because we come from two different backgrounds. And you can see that all throughout the film, you know, especially when, you know, Ben comes to see my father and everything's, you know, it's a little bit more closed and it's kind of awkward. And then you see his parents and it's like this beautiful house and flowers and playing in the backyard and his mom is so open and all of these things that, you know, it's going to create some tension because, you know, Sam wants that for himself. So I'm sure there's envy in that. There's a little bit of like resentment in that in some ways. So in this scene, when we wanted to just have it to like, how can we make a scene that creates some real conflict and a crossroads for Ben and Sam that, you know, is something that's very realistic. That's something that you could watch and relate to and be like, I understand where that's coming from. And so we shot the scene twice. And the first time we did it, it was pretty outlandish. Like, like, you know, like Ben's friends were like awful people. And it kind of had to have this conversation of like, what could happen in which, you know, I meet your friends, but we really have to have a deep conversation about what it means for us to be who we are together. And when we put that into a public space, already something that Sam is uncomfortable with. And so we reshot the scene and it's so much more personal because it's in Ben's home. It's with his friends, like Matt's actual friends. And it becomes a thing where we're exploring performance and how, you know, just feeling isolated for moments and having to put on a face and put on a performance and the things you kind of do for the people that you love that might not feel really good to you. But it's for the first time we're seeing them actually say to each other, like, look, I have a huge problem with this. And Ben also is like, hey, I got a huge problem too. Like, you know, I'm trying to be your boyfriend and you're being really awkward about it. So we really have to tackle these issues and how you know, complex and layered those issues are just because of who we are and our lived experience and sharing them with each other.
You know, that's one of the things I really liked about that scene. It was just so genuine. And it also just shows, you know, like relationships are not easy. You are going to have those tough conversations, and it's how you resolve that conflict, like you said, is, you know, what to determine which way that relationship's going to go. And I thought you guys did an excellent job just crafting the scene and actually just making it happen. Jeremy, what were some of the challenges you had? You know, you're the producer. You know, a lot of people may not know what producer is. You know, they think, oh, that's the person that brings the money. Well, no, you know, there's the producer that brings the money, and there's like, you know, probably your role's also like a little bit of like a line producer, like handling everything. With the shoot being so quick, you know, what were some of the challenges that you experienced, you know, being the producer of the film and the tight turnaround time and all that?
Yeah, I think like a lot of this film was made generally with like 8 people total on set at any given time. So it was a lot of just sort of being spread real thin. I was like boom hopping randomly sometimes and like picking up lunch, planning like the following day. So it was definitely, I think, way more on the ground, I think, than like standard producer work. But it was also kind of nice because we had a lot of help from a lot of different people who came in for certain days. And I think it was very much a shared sort of experience where everyone was just kind of there to make it happen. Some of the challenges that we dealt with were that we obviously don't have the resources to pivot very often. So, me and my AD Owen Lizer was basically at the end every single day, like rescheduling the shoot based on actor availability or weather or location availability. It was like every single night for 3 weeks straight. We were rescheduling the schedule to the point where like I didn't even want to send it out because it would not be accurate until the day before. So it was a lot. It was a lot of just being flexible, being malleable with what was given to us, and we're really grateful that our friends were able to help us so much, and that's why we had to be so flexible with when people were willing to help us out and when locations were available to us. So I think it was just a lot of playing everyone's strengths and getting everyone on board to just be okay with the uncertainty.
Excellent. Yeah, it's a lot of craziness being the producer and bigger productions, assistant directors with all the basically project management of who goes when and where and the whole logistics of it. Matt, for you, this is more like completely random question, and I couldn't figure it out. What did Ben actually do for a living? Like sometimes he's a painter, handyman type, and then other times he's at an office. Like, what did he actually do for a living?
Yeah, so I've done a lot of different things, and I guess I'm a handyman. I did all of these things. So I'm a handyman. I was also working in SIDS research, which is sudden infant death syndrome. So I was a data analyst, and that's what I'm doing with Teresa. I'm analyzing data of SIDS research. And I didn't think it was that important. It was just the fact that this guy isn't really like doing what he loves. And he's just floating, through space, just waiting for, the spark. And that definitely comes with Sam. And so in the sequel of this film, he would be, I think, doing something that he loves. Yeah.
Would that be sock puppets? No.
Yeah.
Those are your best skills.
But okay, for audience, they probably don't realize. I mean, the COVID-19's kind of affected your guys' release. You're going to have your world premiere at BFI Flair in London, and you're actually going to have your U.S. premiere with our Miami edition back in April. Like right now, what's going on with the film? I mean, obviously you're here virtually for this festival. Are there other festivals coming up? Is there eventually, when theaters open up, is there a plan to ideally actually have it in theaters?
Yeah, we have some really exciting news coming. We can't share it all, but Jeremy, would you like to share some?
Yeah, I would say we're still doing like a festival run, which is nice because we get to share the film and we get to speak sort of more on it and connect with the audience a bit more. It's just interesting because we're doing it all digital. And there's, I think, a few of them that we've been able to do like partial in person or drive-in, which has been really nice. So definitely some festivals that, we'll announce as they come, but we're really excited about that. And we do have plans to sort of eventually put it out further into the world in terms of distribution. Theatrical obviously would be a dream and something that we're really excited about, but just putting it out as many places as possible so that people can see it.
Excellent. And I'll be ambiguous with what I'm about to say also. I think it would behoove you guys to attend our virtual awards event Sunday night. That's what I'll say.
Okay.
But so real quick, kind of wrapping it up here. I guess going around the circle. What's next for all of you? Like, what's your next project? What have you been working on, and what do you hope to be working on once things kind of get back to a sense of normalcy? We'll start with Kieran.
I wasn't expecting that. Matt and I have something that we're talking about. I'd love to work with all these people again someday. But Matt and I have something in the works, and I don't even know how much we can talk about it. But I've got that to look forward to. I continue auditioning, so acting projects. There are many I'm excited about being a part of that I just don't know about yet. So that's what's next for me. Sheldon, what are you doing?
Two things I'm really excited about. I did a horror film last year, and because of COVID, we have been stalled. And so we finally got some good news about getting that out to more people. So stay tuned for that. It's called The Canyonlands. And then I also will be teaching this fall, virtual teaching for high school students. And so I'm super excited to get started in doing that too for this year.
What are you going to be teaching?
So we're doing basically a identity and community engagement workshop. So we're getting students to write narratives about how they see themselves and how they want their community to see them and how they want to use that to build their communities.
Excellent. And then Jeremy, what's next for you?
Oh, it's all over the place. There's, I will say, like, this project that Matt and Kieran have sort of been working on that's been on the table, sort of surrounding COVID, obviously, in terms of timeline. And there's another feature that I've been very excited to be a part of that is much more on like the not boom polling while doing lunch type of situation, that I'm hopefully helping get off the ground next year.
Awesome. And I guess, Matt, Kieran kind of alluded to it. Is there anything else besides the project you can really talk about?
Yeah, I mean, I love painting and building. I need a job right now, so any of those dilfs out there, I'm still doing that. I've got Sheldon and I had talked about possibly doing something, more with the project. We cover a lot of bases in this film, and each one of the plot points could have been a season of This Is Us. With everything we talked about, it's just like I would really like to do a second or even a third, like the Before Sunrise series, and revisit these characters again sometime in the future. Are they still friends? Are they still together? Because I think we were missing that in the queer canon. And I don't know, I liked hanging out with everybody. So
well, I'm glad you guys were able to hang out today. It's funny that you mentioned the Before Sunrise Sunset, because I actually, while watching the film, I kind of sometimes got that vibe. I was like, oh, this might be, wonder where they'd be for 7 years from now, or whatever the time jump was in Before Sunrise Sunset. Well, guys, again, thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to be here with us. I'm sure our audience enjoyed it. For our audience, you can still watch Cicada. It's out for the next, it basically, it's streaming now. It starts Saturday, August 29th, and it goes through Wednesday, September 2nd. We're going to show a clip from the film right now, just in case you haven't watched it, so you get a flavor for it. And again, thank you, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I hate fireworks.
The sound of freedom?
Who's freedom?
They're not fireworks, they're sparklers.
How do I hold it?
You gotta bend over. Oh, you got a dud.
You're a dad.
You're a dad. Look at this.
You're a dad.
You're a dad.
You're a dad. Ha! You're a dad. You're a sick gay.
The neighbors were watching.